The war in Ukraine has upended many long-standing realities of modern warfare. Weapon systems that dominated the battlefield for decades no longer have quite the same impact. New and emerging systems are gradually replacing them as the most effective means of combat. The shift is particularly striking in the case of that long-standing stalwart of every military that can produce or procure them, the tank. In an era increasingly defined by autonomous systems, AI-enabled targeting, pervasive surveillance, and precision strike warfare, the tank's reputation has taken a serious battering on the battlefields of Ukraine. In particular, the prodigious use of small, cheap, and highly maneuverable attack drones has rendered many of the benefits formerly provided by tanks largely obsolete. But that's all about to change. The US has recently unveiled a new tank designed to overcome the challenges of today's battlefield and restore the tank's supremacy on the battlefields of the future, the Abrams M1E3. So here's the inside story on this latest US armored innovation and why every military on Earth is watching closely, green with envy. The Abrams tank has, of course, been the main battle tank of the US military for several decades. Originally introduced into service in 1980, it's been constantly upgraded and modified over the years to keep pace with evolving technology and battlefield demands. The current iteration, the M1A2 SET V3, also designated M1A2C, started appearing in service around 2017. That variant, along with the slightly older M1A2 SET V2, is currently undergoing the latest modernization program. The tanks are being fitted with trophy-ready survivability integration, advanced turret stabilization, mounted family of computer systems tablets, MAPS Generation 2 protection architecture, and more. The program is slated to continue while development of the new M1E3, which is intended to ultimately replace them, takes place. But make no mistake about it, the M1E3 is a major leap forward for this legendary tank. That's because the new iteration has been fundamentally redesigned to thrive on the battlefields of the future. More specifically, the M1E3 is intended to reshape how heavy armored forces operate on battlefields, increasingly dominated by loitering munitions, FPV attack drones, long-range precision fires, and persistent aerial surveillance. And that's why the world's militaries are watching development so closely. Everyone has been trying frantically to adapt to the new realities, but the M1E3 appears to offer a workable solution. Now, it's one thing to hastily attach workarounds like cop cages, minesweeping trawls, and drone signal jammers onto tanks post-production to improve their survivability against these new threats. But the M1E3 is designed to integrate these kinds of ultra-modern features from the ground up. For starters, it resolves one of the key learnings from the tank war in Ukraine. Heavier doesn't always equal better. Heavier platforms certainly have their advantages. They can accommodate thicker armor packages and extensive modular add-ons like Tusk urban survival kits without compromising structural integrity. Those hefty add-ons offer significantly higher resistance against kinetic energy penetrators and chemical energy warheads in comparison to lighter designs. A weightier platform also means you can mount more powerful weaponry. The extra mass absorbs the immense recoil of these larger caliber guns more effectively, allowing for higher accuracy during rapid fire, and in dry, arid conditions they reign supreme. But these benefits come with a massive trade-off: mobility. In the soft, muddy conditions of eastern Ukraine, heavyweight tanks like the UK's Challenger have proven susceptible to getting bogged down easily. Tanks exceeding 70 tons also often can't cross civilian bridges in Europe or Asia without engineering support. With the high likelihood of future operations in Eastern Europe and the Indo-Pacific in mind, these factors greatly complicate logistics. So, as one of the heaviest main battle tanks in service, the M1A2 SET V3 just isn't that well suited to those regions. Their fully armed base weight is approximately 73.6 short tons, but the actual weight often exceeds 74 tons with full urban survival kits and active protection systems installed. Some older versions could weigh as much as 80 tons after being upgraded with modernized armor, sensors, and heavier weapons. The only other modern battle tanks in the same weight class are the British Challenger 3 and the Turkish Altay at 73 and 72 tons respectively. Most modern Western tanks are a level down on the heaviness scale, falling into the 65 to 67 ton range. For example, Germany's latest iteration of its Leopard, the 2A7+, weighs around 67 tons, and the Israeli Merkava Mk4M weighs around 65 tons. In fact, in part due to innovations in armor technology, there's a clear trend towards even lighter weights in the next generation of modern battle tanks. The South Korean K2 Black Panther weighs in at around 55 tons, and the Chinese Type 99A weighs around 57 tons, the same as the forthcoming French Leclerc XLR. And the M1E3 seems to have taken a page from their books. With an anticipated weight of around 60 tons, the M1E3 should eliminate most of the mobility issues with previous Abrams models. The 21 to 23% reduction in weight compared to the SEP V3 is expected to improve the M1E3's strategic mobility, bridge crossing capability, and deployment flexibility. That should make a world of difference in the Indo-Pacific theater, where infrastructure limitations, maritime transport constraints, and dispersed island operations remain major operational challenges. It'll also improve strategic mobility in Europe, allowing the tank to cross more bridges in NATO territories and broadening the range of transportation options. Two more new features further enhance the M1E3's mobility: a new hybrid powertrain and suspension. The new lightweight tracks are from American Rheinmetall, and the new hydro-pneumatic suspension system is understood to have come from Horstman Group. The US has tested this kind of suspension on Abrams tanks before, but has decided to take the plunge on the M1E3. You can probably understand why. A hydro-pneumatic suspension system allows the hull of the tank to be raised and lowered in ways that can help improve survivability and offer other operational benefits. In addition to resolving the weight and mobility limitations of the SEP V3, the M1E3 also solves another of the SEP V3's operational shortcomings, which puts frowns on the faces of both operational planners and the Pentagon Accounts Department alike. The SEP V3's gas turbine engine makes it somewhat of a gas guzzler. The M1E3 offers a solution that turns those frowns upside down: a new hybrid propulsion system. The new propulsion configuration includes a modified Caterpillar C13D inline 6-cylinder engine rated at 1,100 horsepower, paired with a Sapa ACT 1075 LP transmission that incorporates a 250 horsepower electric motor. This hybrid architecture is expected to extend operational range and lower thermal and acoustic signatures significantly. Meanwhile, additional onboard electrical power provides the juice needed for future sensors, protection systems, directed energy technologies, and electronic warfare capabilities. That should ensure that the tank remains future-proof as battlefield conditions inevitably continue evolving. The extra mobility and flexibility provided by the new system should be met with nods of approval from operations folk. And the anticipated 40 to 50% fuel efficiency improvement should likewise be music to the Department of War bean counters' ears. This pragmatic yet cutting-edge system also meets the demands of current US Army modernization priorities. The doctrine emphasizes reduced sustainment demand and improved battlefield endurance during large-scale combat operations, where fuel convoys are low-hanging fruit for enemy drones and precision strikes. The M1E3's reduced fuel requirements, combined with its extra mobility and flexibility, fit the ethos snugly. Now, you might be thinking that the reduced weight and more complex propulsion and power system probably mean compromises elsewhere, particularly in the amount of firepower and protection the M1E3 can provide, and possibly the crew configuration. Well, think again. The M1E3 doesn't compromise on firepower, protection, and crew ergonomics. It expands on them. One of the most striking changes from previous Abrams variants is the introduction of an automated turret and autoloader. The main gun appears to be the same modernized 120mm M256 smoothbore gun installed in the SEP V3 and other more recent Abrams variants. It's likely to be paired with a coaxial machine gun. Interestingly, the main turret housing the M256 is supplemented by a smaller, secondary turret mounted on its roof. This secondary turret carries a 30mm Northrop Grumman M230 LF cannon chambered for 30 rounds of 113mm ammunition. So, in effect, the M1E3 has two turrets. What that means is that while the main gun targets typical tank targets, buildings, armor, heavy equipment, and so on, the 30mm gun can take care of incoming attacks from those pesky drones. But those are far from the only capabilities the M1E3 is likely to ultimately field. The early prototype, presented at the Detroit Motor Show in January, featured a Leonardo DRS stabilized sight system, a mix of electro-optical and infrared cameras, along with a remote weapon station or RWS from EOS on top of the turret. The RWS was armed with a 40mm automatic grenade launcher, a 7.62 by 51mm machine gun, and a Javelin anti-tank guided missile. The M1E3's complete armament package could still expand, including the addition of launchers for loitering munitions. Indeed, in a more recent rendering provided by the US Army, there's a structure visible in a basket behind the turret bustle that defense analyst Martin Chomsky speculates may be a container for an unmanned aerial vehicle intended for reconnaissance. So, as you can see, on the military show, we don't just blandly regurgitate the same headlines and stories as everyone else. We bring you the most important stories of the moment, packed with the data and detail you need to understand exactly what's going on and why it matters. So, subscribe to the channel so that you always have your finger right on the pulse. Concerning defensive armament, the Army has also made a dramatic switch compared to the SEP V3. In particular, the Active Protection System, or APS. APS is a relatively innovative and significant improvement compared to earlier tank defense technologies like explosive reactive armor or ERA. This armor stopped anti-tank rockets by detonating charges on a tank's hull, but often near infantry standing near the vehicle. More importantly, tanks are more endangered than ever by smart weapons such as laser-guided ATGMs, which APS is designed to counter. The SEP V3 is equipped with the Israeli Rafael ADS Trophy HV system, while it's expected that the M1E3 will use the XM251 Iron Fist. Both are originally Israeli systems, the former manufactured by Rafael and the latter by Elbit Systems. But the XM251 is actually the Americanized version of Elbit's original M251. The XM251 is already in service on the M2A4E1 variant of the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle. It's also expected to be integrated onto 8x8 striker-wheeled light armored vehicles and the future replacement for the Bradley family, tentatively designated the XM30. So, it would be no surprise to learn that the Iron Fist is to be installed on further lighter armored vehicles. But on a heavyweight main battle tank, that's a first for the US Army, and it's a change that underscores the new realities in which tanks must survive and thrive. That's because the two systems represent two distinct philosophies in APS, namely aerial denial via fragmentation versus precision interception via projectile. But more plainly, they offer very different kill methods. The Trophy HV utilizes a shotgun-like blast of explosively formed penetrators or metal balls scattered in the path of the incoming threat. This created a wide kill zone, roughly 33 to 50 feet from the vehicle, effectively shredding the warhead. In contrast, the Iron Fist launches a miniature kinetic interceptor missile with a small blast fragmentation warhead. It physically hunts and collides with or detonates near the threat at a longer standoff distance of up to 98 to 164 feet, offering a more precise engagement. The 1,870-pound Trophy system carries 6 interceptors at a time. It's optimized for heavy threats like ATGMs and RPGs, but not so much against top attacker drones or kinetic energy or KE penetrators. The much lighter 440 to 550-pound Iron Fist carries 4 interceptors in its standard configuration, along with integrated electro-optical jamming soft kill capabilities against second-generation ATGMs. It's uniquely capable of engaging KE penetrators like tank rounds due to its ability to hit the projectile at a sharper angle and further out. That also makes it considerably more effective against drones. Since the M1E3 is designed for survivability in KE and drone-infested scenarios, you can see why the US Army decided to make the switch. The Iron Fist's lighter weight and reduced collateral footprint align smoothly with the tank's new doctrine of operating closely with infantry and drones, while its ability to counter KE penetrators and drones adds a layer of protection that the Trophy can't offer. But the M1E3's protective features certainly don't end at the new APS. In fact, unlike previous Abrams iterations, this tank has been designed to integrate survivability features directly into the vehicle rather than relying heavily on externally mounted add-on kits. US Army officials have described its future protection capabilities as organic to weapon systems. That strongly suggests a shift toward embedded survivability architectures that combine active protection, electronic warfare, signature reduction, and advanced armored technologies. If you needed any evidence that the US is deeply integrating the lessons hard-learned from the war in Ukraine, that's Exhibit A. Here's Exhibit B. The tank is operated by using what appears to be an actual gaming controller, or a controller designed very much to look and feel like one. The M1E3, demonstrated by the US Army in March 2026, reportedly used a Fanatec gaming controller. Why go with a widely used commercial gaming controller? Well, as Colonel Ryan Howell, the program lead for the M1E3 suggests, with his tongue firmly in his cheek, it now takes just 30 seconds to train a young soldier to drive that tank, something that used to take us days, even weeks. He may have been exaggerating the training timeline ever so slightly there, but he did follow up with an example that highlights how a gaming controller genuinely shortens the learning curve dramatically. Regarding one particular soldier, he said, "When we first sat down with him at the cruise station, he was already in the process of transitioning out of the army, but he was assisting us by informing key design decisions. He told us, if I had known I could work on a platform like this, I would have stayed in the army." That's exactly why drone operators in Ukraine tend to use gaming or gaming-style controllers for their operations. It's second nature for around 3.6 to 3.7 billion avid gamers around the world. Now, the automated turrets and user-friendly control configuration improve the speed and efficiency of fire. But it's the introduction of the autoloader that's arguably the most consequential innovation in the M1E3. In truth, it's pretty rare for US tanks, or indeed Western tanks in general, to feature an autoloader. They've historically been more of a Soviet, Russian, and Chinese thing. But it's easy to understand why the US decided on an autoloader for the M1E3. Its inclusion means the tank can reduce the crew by one, the loader. So, instead of the 4 crew members needed to operate the set V3, the M1E3 now only needs 3. In terms of the interior of the tank, that means one thing: more space. And the M1E3's designers have used it wisely, with survivability in mind. The smaller crew is now positioned inside an armored capsule within the hull. This provides a tough physical barrier between them and any live ammunition, offering substantial protection against potential cook-offs. Operators of Russian tanks must be green with envy. The Abrams, in all its guises, has always been renowned for its robust armor and high level of crew protection, particularly when compared to Russian tanks. But even with blowout panels, there's always a risk of ammunition detonations harming or killing crew members. With this new configuration, that risk is effectively reduced to nearly zero. That is, assuming the armor is tough enough. At this point, while the Army has confirmed that the level of armor on the E3 will remain the same as on earlier M1 tanks, the specific armor that'll ultimately be used is still unclear. In truth, much about the new tank is yet to be determined. It's still at the prototype stage after all. The Army says it hopes to see production of a finalized version begin next year. The exact timeline will depend on the performance of early prototype tanks in testing by operational units, which is slated to kick off in 2027. Still, we're fortunate to know as much about it as we do at this point. The official unveiling of the first early prototype M1E3 at the Detroit Auto Show in January was delivered years ahead of the program's original schedule. What's clear from what has been revealed so far is that the M1E3 is a bold statement. The US intends to preserve the battlefield relevance of heavy armor in the warfare of the future, and then some. Many have been writing off the main battle tank as a historical relic, but rather than abandoning the main battle tank concept, the Army is redesigning the Abrams for a future conflict environment shaped by the tough lessons learned on the battlefields of Ukraine today. It's an environment where survivability depends as much on electronic protection, reduced signatures, automation, and mobility as on traditional armor thickness and firepower. And the M1E3 seems to have the whole package. So, is it the ultimate tank for this new reality? We'll have to wait and see, but it's unlikely to be invincible. Nothing is, at least for not long, not with drones everywhere. In any high-intensity conflict, no platform can be 100% safe from unmanned aerial systems. Jammers can be circumvented by fiber optic guided drones and other means, and APSs can be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Given the current state of the Ukrainian front lines, the 4 interceptors that can be launched by the Iron Fist without reloading seem on the low side, to say the least. But that certainly doesn't mean these protective measures are a waste of resources. In a high-end war, the M1E3 will take losses, there is no way around it. But what the M1E3's new features should mean is that even if the tank is hit, the crew can survive to fight another day. And if it's anywhere near as durable as its predecessors, the tank will likely be salvageable to boot. We'll of course keep you posted as and when more details become available, so subscribe to the channel to find about it first. New prototypes are reportedly expected in the summer. In the meantime, to get a sense of why so many feel that tanks are becoming obsolete, check out this video about Russia's historic tank losses in Ukraine. Thanks for watching.